Springtime often brings with it stuffy noses and scratchy throats, and unfortunately for millions of seasonal allergy sufferers around the world, there is evidence that relief won't be coming anytime soon. Several studies have shown that pollen seasons are becoming longer and more intense across the world. This is due in part to climate change and rising carbon dioxide emission, which are expected to increase the growth of trees and grasses in many areas, leading to higher pollen concentration. If you have been managing seasonal allergies for a long time, you may have already noticed that the allergy symptoms are starting earlier, lasting longer, and being more intense than they were just a few years ago. So let's dive into it. Seasonal allergy, also known as high fever or seasonal allergic rhinitis, is a condition that the body's immune system overreacts to substances that are usually harmless. For example, pollen from grasses, flowers, weeds, and trees. So let's say that a bit of pollen enters the nose. It can get picked up by a dendritic cell, which is a type of immune cell that gobbles up foreign particles and presents it to a nearby lymphocyte called a T cell. If the T cell gets activated, it kicks into action producing cytokines, which helps to get other immune system involved. The exact type of T cell determines the type of immune response, and in allergic rhinitis there is a bit of T cell imbalance. There are too many T cells that, then activated, stimulate B cells, another group of lymphocytes, to produce IgE antibodies. Those IgE antibodies get released into the bloodstream and bind to mast cells, which are immune cells in the tissue that carry within themselves a low histamine. Once bound by IgE, the mast cells are primed, meaning if pollen enters the body again in the future, those mast cells degranulate and release their histamine into the local tissue. The histamine causes blood capillaries to dilate and become leaky, which brings more fluid and immune cells to the area where the mast cells are located. Interestingly, there is evidence that early exposure to allergens might protect against type 1 hypersensitivity. For example, children who grew up on farms and have pets at early age typically have lower rates of allergic rhinitis. It is true that a combination of genetic factors and environmental factors, like those contribute to which type of T cell group is most common and thereby influence the overall immune response. The most common triggers include pollen from grasses such as Timothy grass, Kentucky bluegrass, Johnson grass, Bermuda grass, redtop grass, orchard grass, and sweet vernal grass. Pollen from trees is oak, ash, elm, hickory, pecan, box elder, and mountain cedar. The pollen season starts differently. For trees, it is March to April. For grass, it's May to July, with peak in June and July. For wheat, it's June to August, and for mold spores, it's September to October. Symptoms of seasonal allergies range from mild to severe. The most common include sneezing, runny or stuffy nose, watery and itchy eyes, itchy sinuses, throat or ear canals, ear congestion, and postnasal drainage. Less common symptoms include headache, shortness of breath, wheezing, and coughing. Also, some people who are allergic to tree pollen also experience irritation in the throat when eating certain raw fruit and vegetables, such as apples and celery. This is due to cross-reaction with pollen and is referred to as oral allergy syndrome. Some sufferers have poor quality of sleep, reduced ability to concentrate and function effectively at work or school. Examination performance is reduced, especially if the sufferers are on sedation antihistamine medication. Many people with high fever also have asthma. If you have both high fever and asthma, your seasonal allergies may trigger an asthma attack. High fever is usually easier to diagnose than other allergies. If you have allergic symptoms that only occur at certain times of the year, it is a sign that you have seasonal allergic rhinitis. A skin prick test is carried out by placing a small drop of fluid containing an allergen on the skin. The skin is then pricked through the liquid. If a person sensitized to the allergen, the body releases a chemical called histamine at the site of the prick, causing a red itchy bump to occur. The reaction indicates that a person is likely to have symptoms of allergy to that particular allergen. In vitro tests are acceptable substitutes for skin tests in the following circumstances. If the patient has abnormal skin, such as dermatographism or extensive dermatitis, The patient cannot or did not discontinue antihistamines or other interfering medication. The patient is very allergic by history and anaphylaxis is a possible risk, and the patient is not compliant for skin testing. To avoid false negative skin tests, short-acting antihistamine medication should be withheld for 36 to 48 hours, and long-acting medication should be within 4 to 6 weeks before skin tests are performed, because antihistamines suppress the skin test results. There are also blood tests for people on whom skin prick tests are not possible. A blood test can be done, but is no more sensitive than skin prick testing, and it takes time for the result to come back. But you must remember that positive tests for allergen-specific IgE themselves are not sufficient for a diagnosis of allergic disease. Those tests only indicate the presence of IgE molecules with a particular immunologic specificity. A decision whether the specific IgE antibodies are responsible for clinically apparent disease must be based on the physician assessment of the entire clinical picture. The ultimate standard for the diagnosis of allergic disease remains the combination of positive history, the presence of specific IgE antibodies, and demonstration that the symptoms are the result of IgE-mediated inflammation. The severity of symptoms can vary. Some people need medication to manage their symptoms, and others can manage their condition by avoiding triggers. Non-medication treatment include: first, reduce your exposure to allergy triggers. To reduce your exposure to the things that trigger your allergy signs and symptoms, you need to stay indoors on dry, windy days. The best time to go outside is after a good rain, which helps clear pollen from the air. Avoid low mowing, weed pulling, and other gardening chores that stir up allergies. Remove clothes you're wearing outside and shower to rinse pollen from your skin and hair. Don't hang laundry outside, pollen can stick to sheets and towels. And wear a face mask if you do outside chores. Second is take extra steps when pollen counts are high. Seasonal allergy signs and symptoms can flare up when there are a lot of pollen in the air. So you need to check your local TV or radio station, your local newspaper or the internet for pollen forecast and current pollen levels. If high pollen counts are forecasted, start taking allergy medication before a symptom starts. Close doors and windows at night if possible or any other time than pollen count are high. And avoid outdoor activity in the early morning when pollen counts are highest. Third is keep indoor air clean. There is no miracle product that can eliminate all allergens from the air in your home, but those suggestions may help. Use air conditioning in your house and car. If you have forced air heating or air conditioning in your house, use high-efficiency filters and follow regular maintenance schedules. Keep indoor air dry with a dehumidifier, use a portable high-efficiency particulate air filter in your bedroom, and clear floor often with a vacuum cleaner that has a HEPA filter. And the last, rinse your sinuses. Rinsing your nasal passages with a saline solution is a quick, inexpensive, and effective way to relieve nasal congestion. Rinsing directly flushes out mucus and allergens from your nose. Saline solution can be purchased ready-made or as kit to add to water. If you use a kit or homemade saline solution, use bottled water to reduce the risk of infection. Homemade solutions should have 1 quart or 1 liter of water, 1.5 teaspoon or 7.5 milliliters of canning salt, and 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of baking soda. Rinse the irrigation device after each use with clean water and leave open to air dry. Then you can avoid your allergies. Medication treatment include antihistamine tablets and syrups. Antihistamines are more effective if they are taken before symptom starts rather than after. Some older antihistamine tablets, such as clofenamine, can cause drowsiness. Newer antihistamines are unlikely to cause drowsiness and include cetirizine, loratadine, and acrovastin. Nasal sprays are useful if you have suffer nasal symptoms, and they can be used instead of or in addition to antihistamine tablets. Steroid nasal sprays suppress the allergic reaction and inflammation of high fever and take about 3 days to work. They are best started before the high fever season begins and used throughout the season even if your symptoms have improved. Steroid nasal sprays include beclomethasone, fluticasone, and mometazone, and Nasacort or triamcinolone. Non-steroid nasal sprays such as Becodefense and Becodefense kits. Antihistamine nasal sprays, also less effective than intranasal corticosteroids, have been deemed equal, if not superior, to oral second-generation antihistamine for seasonal allergy. Intranasal antihistamines include azelastine and olopatadine. Nasal decongestant sprays are useful if you suffer from a blocked nose. However, they can only be used for 7 days, as longer use can cause rebound congestion and block your nose up again. They include oxymetazoline like Afrin and Dristan, phenylephrine like Sudafed PE, or pseudoephedrine like Sudaft or Sulfedrine. Do not use nasal decongestion if you are pregnant. Caution and review of risk versus benefits must be taken when prescribing for children younger for 6 years, because of increased risk of hallucination, agitated psychosis, ataxia, and death. For children with ADHD, increased stimulatory effects can result such as tachyarrhythmia and insomnia. Patients with a history of cerebral vascular accidents, cardiovascular disease, hyperthyroidism, close-angle glaucoma, and bladder neck obstruction. And the last, eye drops. If your eye symptoms are not controlled by oral antihistamines, eye drops containing sodium chromoglycate or lodoxamide may be useful. In the upcoming video, we will explore how to make your home allergy-free. So stay tuned and protect yourself from allergies.